episode 13 of the podcast. We are going to talk about how dog grooming is always 1 millimeter away from disaster, and we're going to talk about loud noises in our loud noise breakdown. This is the Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast. I'm Chrissy Newmeyer-Smith. I'm a certified professional groomer, a certified behavior consultant for canines, and a certified professional dog trainer. And this, my friends and colleagues, is the podcast where grooming and training meet. This week, I had a fantastic discussion with a trainer. And what we were talking about was a video that I showed where a groomer would see that this dog is being really cooperative. But trainers were asking, well, how can you tell the dog is being cooperative? What if we ask the dog to move toward us, to give the paw, to give their nose, to touch something? And, it's kind of at the core of why I'm doing this podcast. And so I really became inspired to explain it even better. So I'm going to describe it as every moment that we're grooming, we want a dog to be still. And so if that's our goal, we do not see a dog moving toward us as cooperative. So in other aspects, in other parts of life, that's awesome, great. But I think that trainers, I think it's really important for you guys to see that a little bit of movement is probably pretty harmless in other places, but not in grooming. And I really want to pinpoint this by remarking about it. We are a millimeter away from danger. We are a millimeter away from disaster. We are putting scissors next to eyeballs, next to ear leather, right? Next to putting clippers next to a rectum, right? We have brushes next to eyeballs. We have any of our equipment that cuts hair can hurt a dog. Any of it. Any of it. Just think about that for a moment. Brushes, brushes are meant to be used with the growth of the hair or maybe against, but certainly not like a dog smacking into it, right? As someone who has got a pin brush like hit underneath a nail, oh, that hurts, right? You can hurt an animal with most of our equipment. What we want is a dog to choose to be steady for us and to choose to be cooperative. So one of the things that we've talked about before is, what's the observable behavior? And this I'm going to point out that observations aren't necessarily just seen. Some observations are felt. Some observations are heard. A dog that is choosing to stay still, to me, is a dog that is easier to groom, that's more appropriate for grooming, that's living up to the task that they're being trained for. When they are moving, they're moving toward equipment or moving away from equipment, and our risk of hurting them rises. So you don't actually see them actively moving around as their observable behavior for interacting with us. In fact, this is why so many groomers don't send dogs to trainers. And I know it's going to hurt trainers' feelings, and I don't mean to, right? Like, as soon as I tell a groomer I'm a trainer, they're like, oh my God. Like, no, I groom too. Like, because we are so used to people telling us, oh yeah, and we've been working on having him give us his paw. So let's talk about even just giving paw. A dog that places their paw in my hand, but then feels that, oh, I didn't get anything for it. Should I try harder? Should I try more? Should I press harder? They're just getting in our way. You guys, when you're training, I want you to look at the bigger picture that we're working with a dog hands-on for a lot of behaviors all at the same time for a longer duration. So as you work on something like that, like perhaps giving me your paw and feeling comfortable with it, I want you to fade it out to simply allow me to pick up your paw and maybe the other paw and maybe a back paw. Because when a dog tries to give me their paw, for example, my own guys, I haven't taught them paw, because I find it really, really annoying. It just bugs me. Because what happens is a dog enthusiastically learns to tap with it. That may seem like it's not a big deal, but if I have scissors and I'm rounding out the edge of the pad hair, even on my border collies, even on the short hair dogs, people are surprised that I take scissors to the pads of a lab's foot. But when you take scissors next to the edge, and we're making a nice, sharp, crisp line along the edge of a pad, we are a millimeter away from disaster. And while groomers are really adept at working on dogs while they move, The ideal, if we're going to be teaching it, is to teach them to hold still, which is cooperative, just not necessarily something you're looking at that you would say, oh, that's a dog who's cooperating. Until you have a lot of experience with dogs that are trying to actively break free. And then you realize, oh, he's cooperating quite nicely. But if you're trying to hold a leg still and the dog keeps trying to press it into your hand, I want you to imagine that you have a pen and a paper and you're trying to write something and someone just keeps tapping your pen, right? Now, that's going to make for some messy writing. In grooming terms, it makes for a messy trim or an injury because we can injure dogs. And we're really trying to get dogs to just be safe for us. And safe is still. Loosey-goosey still, not stiff, but to hold still is the safety factor. So anybody who's working on husbandry stuff, I want you to internalize that for a minute and think about it. Like, okay, maybe we start off with, I want you to feel comfortable enough to approach me for me doing your nails, but to fade it out to, I want you to feel comfortable enough to me now approach you to do your nails. Because still is safer. And not just for grooming, because I've been a vet tech and I've done plenty of vet procedures. It's going to translate to the veterinary visit too. A dog that can hold still can be put on their side, can be catheterized, can be given injections, can be have blood drawn from their jugular vein. All of those things are so normal in the veterinary setting. And if we can teach them to hold still for it and be comfortable with us doing stuff to them. Cooperative doesn't mean they're an active participant. They can be a passive participant. They can be part of what we're doing without actually moving into our hands, because that is not safe. So again, millimeter away from disaster. And I'll tell you, I was grooming for a vet, not just her roommate's dogs, and she was watching me groom. And there were a couple times where she was like, "Oh my God, I never really gave it much thought as to how you trim eyes on a dog who has like kind of a twitchiness." She's an older dog who's a little unsteady and kind of wiggles a lot. And she's like, "It never really occurred to me. Like I would be asking a tech to hold on for me, but you're just there moving with it." Right? And that's what groomers are really good at. We tend to move with it. And a dog who's trying to be still for us, but has some sort of like a little twitch or a head tilt that we're kind of trying to work around, that's going to be different than a dog who feels like they're supposed to move toward me or press their nose into me or their chin. So for example, chin targeting. That's when a dog presses their chin up against your hand or on a leg. My guys know chin targeting, my own dogs. Because I use it for when somebody wants to pet them, but they're being way too silly. So if they put their hand out and say chin, my dog will press their head into their hand. They can pet with the other one. But I do not use it for grooming, and I do not use it for vet visits. Because if the message is press your chin into my hand, that is incompatible with me brushing your chin, combing your chin, scissoring your chin, clippering your chin. Pretty much doing anything on your chest too, because once a hand is in front of the chin, they're like, oh, wait, what are you doing? You know, oh, did you want paw instead? Like it can become a disaster. So trainers, if you are working on something like chinning, what I did with my own guys is that if I want them to do that behavior, it's a hand signal, which because I use my hand as my target. So groomers, what that means is that's the target is the thing that they are supposed to interact with, right? So I put my hand out and that's their hand signal that she's going to ask for chin. When I ask for chin, rather, is when they're going to press it in. If I just hold my hand out, my dogs do not do it. If I put a brush under their chin, if I do other things, and part of that is because I played around with it and proofed it so that they only do the behavior when they hear both the cue and see the hand signal. So if you're working on those behaviors, please, for the sake of your groomer, fade it out to something that won't interfere with grooming. Paw targeting, touching their paw to you. Make sure you teach them that only happens when you ask for it. So again, that's a good example of I put my hand out and say paw, right? Which, one of my guys came to me knowing it. So And I think the other one picked up on it because Poe knows it, because people ask for it. Apparently, that's something that strangers just need to do with a dog. I don't know why, because humans like paw and humans like throwing balls, right? Um, but if I just reach for a paw, that is not the same. They do not actively move their hand to me. If I say, let me take your foot, they are passively allowing it. One of the things that you can observe if you were a trainer and you're watching some grooming videos and stuff, one of the things that you can observe is that a dog will shift their weight so that it's easier for you to lift their paw or to move the body part that you're talking about. So the millimeter from disaster is serious. It really is. I want you to think about the next time you watch a groomer grooming a dog, or maybe get online and look up. Barkley has Groomer TV. There are all sorts of videos and stuff. Most of them are trying to, show grooming for groomers. But that's a great place to kind of watch and see what show trims and stuff, which, by the way, if you love show trims, they're pretty awesome. But try looking up Groomer TV on YouTube. But you can watch them doing some grooming, and I want you to think about those dogs are being still because that's safe. Stop teaching dogs that the way to cooperate is to move toward us. The way to cooperate is to not try to move away from us. And I know that's a weird way of looking at it, so let that kind of sink in. Because I'm telling you, that's why groomers don't want to go to trainers. Like they see these dogs and they're like, "Oh my God, you got to be kidding me." Well, who am I going to send them to? Because, someone's going to teach them that it's great to enthusiastically shove their paw in my hand while I'm trying to do their armpit. And next thing you know, we've got a ripped armpit and the owner doesn't know why. How could that possibly happen? Because I had a clipper in your dog's armpit and he started kicking me, And honestly, sometimes it's more a matter of how many hours a day, how many days a week, and how many years groomers have been doing it, that we just want the dogs to be still. And because, as a training industry, we certainly can teach them to do it, I feel it's our job to. I feel it's our job to be teaching dogs to be still for grooming, and that we should be accommodating this grooming industry that spends a huge amount of time with these dogs, right? So as a groomer, I see most dogs either 6 to 12 times a year, far more than their vet does. But the dogs that I groom learn to be still, learn to put up with whatever kind of motions I'm putting them through, touching them all over, and they're better for the vet too. So we get to address so many more issues by teaching them to be still and willing than to try to teach them to push a paw toward us, or to press their chin, or lift their chin, or open their mouth. Why? If I can teach them to just relax while I open their mouth, then we have a dog that doesn't have to think through a 2-hour grooming process. And that's really important. Dogs don't want to have to think the whole time. Let them check out. Let them just go with the flow and go with the motions. So, like I said, it was an interesting conversation. And I know I have a different point of view and a different take on it. But I have my foot in both worlds. I'm a groomer and a trainer. And I really feel that this is important. Really, really important. If you're enjoying my podcast, please remember to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes. Let's do a loud sound breakdown. So what I mean by that is let's just discuss some of the things about loud sounds. There are lots of different topics in grooming, but I think that this is a pretty common one. So what do you observe when the sound starts? And I'm saying the sound because it could be a variety of things, but what do you observe the dog doing? Remember we talked about the difference between the story and the observation. So does the dog jump? Does the dog try to get away? Does the dog cower? Is it only when the dog is on the table? Do you find that dogs in crates are doing the same thing? Like you turn on a vacuum cleaner and the dog's in the crate is behaving by trying to cower, trying to jump out of their skin when they hear the sound. I know tech talk jumps out of their skin. But what do you observe when the sound starts? And if you have a dog with a history of being worried about a particular sound, see what they do when they're still in the crate. That can be very telling. So does the dog ignore it until they're being touched by it? And that could be a vacuum or that could be the dryer, because I have a clipper vac, and definitely that's a weird sensation. So what do you observe about, does the dog acclimate it? Or do they remain worried about it? Sometimes it's the burst of sound, And sometimes it's a matter of, nope, that noise is still going on. So observe what the dog is doing. Observe if it's different in the tub, on the table, in a crate. Because anything we can do to make them feel better about it is going to be based on those observations. Because not every dog has the same setup for fixing this, right? Every dog's an individual. So we need to look at what they're doing so that we can make it better for them. So next I want you to ask yourself, how can you make the dog feel safe with the noise? That's our goal. I want them to feel safe. I want them to be comfortable with it. I mean, honestly, some of the noises in a grooming shop are tough. Like, I wear ear protection, and for many, many years I didn't, because I was young and I was stupid. So now I do. I wear my noise canceling headphones and I listen to podcasts, or music. But I want you to think about ways that we can make them feel safer with it. Are you able to make the sound softer? So let's talk about a couple ways you can do that. One of those is setting the clippers or the dryer on low. Is there a lower setting that you can use while you're slowly raising it to see if you can help them remain calm for it? I think that sometimes, the quieter dryers can be helpful. Keeping in mind that a dryer, once it's getting up close to skin, the sound changes. So even though the motor may sound pretty quiet, there's that different sound when it goes through. Like, you can practice it, like just blowing it on your fingers and seeing how they do with that noise. Because even the most quiet of motors, that sound is going to be different when it's going through like fingers or tail hair or next to an ear. But see if you can try a lower setting and slowly build up to a higher setting. Another way that you can make a sound softer is they have those happy hoodies, which are sort of like just a terry cloth tube that you slide over the pup's head. You can put cotton in their ears. You can also just wrap a towel around their head, maybe with a clip. I will say I have a happy hoodie. I like putting cotton in their ears, even if I'm using a happy hoodie. I like the happy hoodies. I will say, though, that some dogs find them very constricting. Even if the size is right, I think it's just a very weird sensation. So some dogs get a little bit worried when they're on and try to pull them off. And to me, that means that they're not comfortable. Like, if it deadens the sound, but they're getting worked up because the things around their head, that's not helpful. So we'll stick with maybe a towel wrapped around, almost like a scarf, delicately draped around their head. But that's one of the ways that you can help make the sound softer, because many of these noises are happening in a shop environment. So if we can help them to be able to listen to the noise that's going on. Honestly, like I said, I wear ear protection. However, hour after hour, day after day, year after year, it builds on us differently than it does on the animals, unless they live in a grooming shop. So anything that can help you make the sound softer can help with training. Are you able to make the sound in short bursts to teach the dog? And that's when I would do things like you turn on the vac, give cookies, turn off the vac. Turn it on, give cookies, turn it off. Or turn on the dryer, toss a toy, turn off the dryer. Turn on the dryer, toss a toy. So that turning on the loud noise is the bringer of good things. I worked in a shop with my last dog. She used to come to the grooming shop with us every day. And someone let her pluck a tennis ball off of the hose of the shop vac. And for the rest of her life, if someone was running a shop vac near her, she was putting tennis balls in front of it. She just learned it was a cue to play. And the person who did it was very frustrated that she kept bringing balls over. It's like, why does she keep bringing balls over? I'm like, oh, man, you just taught her that was a great and wonderful thing. I mean, she was holding it way up toward the ceiling and letting her pluck tennis balls off it. But she did not develop a worry about the sound of the shop vac, which is quite loud, right? So it's an example of, oh, that sound puts me into a mood of play, or puts me into the mood for snacks, right? So that's one of the ways that we can help with teaching a dog, is doing little short bursts of turn it on, some cookies, turn it off, turn it on, toss a toy, turn it off. Whatever it is that dog really likes, but make good things happen when they hear the clipper turn on, or when they hear the vacuum turn on, or when they hear the dryer turn on. Another thing, are you able to help cover up some loud noises with other sounds? Now, this one sounds a little bit odd, So I'm going to give some examples. I find when I am grinding toenails, I mask that sound with the dryer or the vacuum. Because something about it's not just the vibration of the grinder on their toes, it's something about that noise too. And while they can still hear the grinder, it's not quite as loud if other things are going on in the background. So sometimes background noise can help cover up some of the loud noises. Clipper sounds. Sometimes I mask clipper sounds with music, right? Music is something that we can do anyway to help set our mood, but to have music going while the clipper is running, I think in a lot of ways makes it less likely to just focus on just one sound, right? So think about when loud noises are happening, what do you observe? How can you help the dog feel safer about it? Are you able to make the sound softer? Are you able to spend some time teaching and doing it in short bursts? Are you able to cover up some of those loud noises with other sounds? And that's very, very basic, but it's the way I want you to look at it kind of through training eyes. Like, oh, I want him to feel comfortable with it. I want him to feel safe with it. And I need to look at each of these little steps. So everybody, have a great week and stay curious. If you'd like to talk to me, you can find me through my grooming and training business, happycrittersdogtraining.com, my email, chrissy@happycritters.net, and through the Creating Great Grooming Dogs Facebook page. And we have these awesome devices in our pockets that allow us to do live video with each other. I can help you with the dog on your table. We can set up live lessons, and you may be surprised at how much we can get accomplished together via video. I'm also happy to come to you if you're near my area in southern New Hampshire. If you're ready to go beyond the podcast, and I hope you do, I've made it really easy for you. If you go to creatinggreatgroomingdogs.com and click on your next step, you'll see all of the options. There's the Scholar Lounge community, there's the Modern Grooming Professional Certification, there's Master Canine Stylist and Professional Canine Stylist Diploma testings, there's the Behavior Lab for coaching and private one-on-one sessions with me, and of course the Master Groomer Behavior Specialist program. So go to creatinggreatgroomingdogs.com and click on your next step.